So on behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, College of Engineering, Pune, I welcome you all for academic year 2021 and I wish you all the best for semester 1. So the subject name is Numerical Methods and Computer Programming, and we are going to start with the first tutorial, which is Introduction to MATLAB. So before starting the tutorial, let me introduce the MATLAB. The word MATLAB is composed by two separate words, which is matrix laboratory. It is high level 4th generation language that is excellent for numerical computations of small scale systems, linear algebra, data analysis, signal processing, and so on. So it forms an interactive environment for numerical computations, visualizations, and programming. Using MATLAB, we can easily analyze the data, develop various algorithms, and create models and various applications. So in addition to programming, MATLAB provides extensive toolboxes and builds in math functions. Toolboxes contains useful routines for control design, optimization, signal processing, image and video processing, and like various kinds of adaptive filters and so on. On the other hand, built-in math functions enables us to explore multiple approaches and rapidly solve the problems related to science and engineering. So now let us see some advantages of MATLAB over other languages. As MATLAB is very easy for beginning to learn, it allows to perform numerical calculations and visualize the result easily. It avoids complicated and time-consuming programming. It has built-in math functions help in making numerically computations easily. It allows user to accurately solve problems, produce graphically, as well as the codes are produced efficiently. It includes plotting of the data in MATLAB using modifications of color, sizes, scales of various plots can be made by various tools which are available in MATLAB. Addition of toolboxes improves the functionality of MATLAB. Like there are many toolboxes such as machine learning toolbox, signal processing toolbox, image processing toolbox, optimization toolboxes are available in MATLAB. So applications of MATLAB are numerous. Like there is no single person on earth who completely knows MATLAB because it is application oriented. It includes signal processing and communication, image and video processing, various control systems like PI or PID or simply PI, like proportional integral derivative controllers and so on. Like various testing and measurement systems for data acquisition and hardware interfaces. Visualization and modeling of data also can be done using MATLAB. And then lastly, but not the least, the numerical computation and performing mathematical vector and matrix operation can be done. So now if you see the MATLAB window, I would like to introduce the MATLAB window. You can see here the command window. The writing area is displayed after starting the MATLAB is called as command window. It can be given to MATLAB ready for the input, and output of the program will be shown in command window. So MATLAB can be used as scientific calculator or graphic user interface for executing the input and outputs. Then if you see this workspace, the various variables which are being analyzed here will be displayed in form of matrix in the workspace. And then here there are some applications like various plots are available and various applications are available here. So you can see curve fitting application is there, optimization is there, signal processing is there. You can see classifier learner, which is basically a machine learning tool. Then there are lot many fuzzy logic is there. I can see neuro fuzzy is there. So it depends on which application you are looking for. Everything is available in the MATLAB. So this was the brief introduction about the MATLAB software. Now let us go for studying the basic operations, which includes arithmetic operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, conversion, and trigonometric functions, exponential functions, and so on. We'll see this now one by one. Okay, so now let us perform some basic arithmetic operations in MATLAB. So what I'll do is I will start with multiplication. Let us consider we have two numbers as 5 and 10. So what we'll do is we will fix the value 5 using letter u. So small u is equal to 5, and then I'll enter. Then you can see here in workspace the variable u is displayed and the value is stored as 5. So now in MATLAB value 5 will be saved as variable u. You can see it here also. After this, let us consider v as 10. I'll say enter. Again you can see here another variable v is displayed with the value of 10. So now if I want to take the addition of u and v, I'll simply type u space plus sign space v, and you just say enter. You get answer as 15. Now if you see here in workspace, value 15 will be stored as variable ans, that is answer. Okay, now another way, I mean, if you don't write space after u, you can directly write plus sign and v. So u plus v, again the answer will be displayed as 15. Now since value of 15 is stored as name of variable as answer, here there will not be separate variable shown for this 15 because it is already stored as ans. Fine. Now let us go for subtraction. I'll type u space minus sign space v. So answer will be minus 5. Now if you see here, the variable answer is now, the value of variable answer is now changed to minus 5. So now if you type ans here and if you say enter, value minus 5 will be displayed. Value 15 will not be displayed now because this has been replaced by minus 5. You just remember this. Right. Now let us go for multiplication. U star v. Operator, the operator for multiplication is used as star. So answer will be 50. Now you can see here variable 50, variable answer, value of variable answer is nothing but 50. Now let us go for division. U slash, you can give slash and then just you can say v. So you will get answer as 0.5000. Okay. If you want to take it as v slash u, your answer will be 2. Okay. Now let us see how to take power. U raised to v, answer will be 9765625, or v raised to u, answer will be 10000. Now if you see here, operator which is used for taking power is nothing but cap. Fine. Okay, so now if I want to clear my command window, this command window, I'll just enter CLC. I'll just write CLC and then I'll say enter. The command window will be cleared. Similarly, if you want to clear the workspace, just go to workspace here, right click and just say clear workspace. Say OK. The workspace will be cleared. Now go to new, the arithmetic operations we have performed directly in the command window. Now you can go to new script I'll tell you how to write a script and then how to execute it in the command window. Now let us assume that the value of u is to be defined by the operator, which is not fixed all the time, but it should be entered by the end operator or a layman. Then what I'll do is I'll say u is equal to input bracket single quotes, and in between single quote you can say enter value of u, and you can write is equal to. So the contents which is typed which are typed in between two quotes, single quotes, are nothing but the statement which is to be displayed when you will run this program. Now if you want to break this particular statement, you have to use semicolon. Okay, I'll tell you why we are using this semicolon after running the program. Similarly, if you want to do it for v, you can say input brackets single quotes enter value of v is equal to, and again the semicolon. Fine. Now if I want to take another variable as w is equal to u plus v semicolon, again s is equal to u minus v semicolon, p is equal to u into v semicolon, and we can say a is equal to u divided by v semicolon. Now this is the program which we have written in script. You just run it, then it will ask to save this program. You can say this as basic operators. Now remember one thing, while labeling the MATLAB files, that is .m file, you have to use, if you want to use two words, those two words are to be separated by underscore, basic operations. If you save this file as basic space operations, then the file will not get run, because it must be separated by a semicolon. Remember this. And then you can say save, and then you can say change folder. Now if you see this command window here, you will find that it is asked that enter value of u. Now you can enter value of u as 5 and then say enter. Then it will ask for enter the value of v, say it as 10, say enter. Now the values of w as pa are displayed here. W as 15, v as 10, u as 5, s as -5, p as 50 and a as 0.5. Now why the values are not being displayed in the command window? Because the sentences are terminated by the semicolon. Hence, if you would like to know the answer of w, you have to type it here as w, then it will shown as 15. So w is nothing but addition of two numbers. Then if you would like to know the answer of s, just enter, like just type s and say enter, answer will be -5. Say p, enter, answer will be 50, and say a, answer will be 0.50. Now what I'll do, I will just let us do one thing. Let us clear this window first and this workspace also. And now what we'll do, we will change the program, that we will remove this semicolons, and again we will run it. Again it will ask for a value of u, enter as 5, v as 10, and now if you see, automatically values of w, s, p and a are displayed here, because your sentence from the program is not terminated by the semicolon. Hence the operations will be performed which you have given as direction, and the values will be directly displayed. Fine. Okay, so now let us go for studying mathematical functions. We will start with basic trigonometric functions. As if I want to find out cos 30, then I will write A is equal to cos bracket 30 bracket complete and say enter. Answer will be displayed as A is equal to 0.1543. Now if you write this as A is equal to cos 30, and then if you terminate this sentence with semicolon and if you say enter, nothing will be displayed. So if you would like to find out answer of A here, you have to type A and then say enter, then answer will be displayed, right? Then let us go for sine. If I want to find out sine 30, I will type this as A sine 30 and say enter, answer will be displayed. Then for tan, A is equal to tan 30, answer will be equal to A is equal to minus 6.40. Then A is equal to cot 30, answer will be minus 0.1561. Then A is equal to cosec. For cosec we have to use CSC 30. Say enter, answer will be displayed, and which is remaining now sec, right? A is equal to sec 30, answer will be displayed as 6.4829. Now after this, if I would like to find out inverse of functions, then I'll write it as A is equal to cos A cos, it is A cos, and then you can write value as, suppose we will take it as 0.1432, then the answer will be displayed as A is equal to 1.4271. Similarly for sine, you have to use it as A is equal to A sine small a sine 0.1432, answer will be 0.1437. Similarly for tan, it is A tan, so we can write it as 0.1432, answer will be 0.1422. Similarly A is equal to A CSC and then 0.1432, that is cosec inverse, answer will be a complex number which is shown as 1.5708 minus 2.6315i. Okay, then A is equal to A sec 0.1432, again answer will be 0 plus 2.6315i. then A is equal to A, what is remaining now, cot, A cot 30, answer will be displayed as 0.0333. Now let us go for studying exponential functions. I'll clear this window, I'll clear the workspace also. Now I'll go for finding out exponential functions. If I type C is equal to exp e raised to, if I want to find out e raised to 3, answer of e raised to 3, then I'll type it as C is equal to exp bracket 3 bracket complete and then enter. So answer will be equal to 20.0855. Now if I want to find out log of some number, log to the base e, then I'll write it as d is equal to log, suppose 12, then answer will be equal to 2.48. Here this logarithmic term is considered to be as base to e, log to the base e 12. Then if I want to find out common logarithmic term, that is log to the base 10, then I will write it as e is equal to log 10 and suppose 9. then the answer will be at 0.9542. If I would like to find out square root, then I'll type it as f is equal to sqrt. If you would like to find out square root of 144, then answer must be equal to, oh sorry, it is SPRT I typed, sorry, it should be SQRT, or SORT is also fine. Let us type it as f is equal to SQRT 144, answer is 12. Or they have shown as sort also, f is equal to SORT sort 144. Oh, no, sorry, it should be SQRT only. It is shown as f is equal to sort 144 and f is shown as 144. So that means they are saying it is undefined function or variable as SPRT. So it is omitted and only number was displayed as 144. But for finding out square root, you have to use function or example, yes, function as SQRT itself, so that we get the answer. Now if you if you would like to find out the absolute value, I will clear this command window now. The absolute value can be calculated as suppose G is equal to ABS, and if you would like to find out absolute value of term -5, and they say enter, the value will be displayed as 5. Now if you would like to round off the value, then what you have to do is you have to say h is equal to round, and then we can take 3.57. if we take, the answer will be rounded to 4. Okay, so now if I would like to print the output of some arithmetic operation with respect to some statement, that means if you want to manage the printing of output, we need to use some specifiers. One of the specifier is %f, which is fixed point notation. Now we will see how to use this printf to manage the printing of output or any kind of input. So as we have studied the model of parachute, where two forces are considered to find out the net force. So let us do one thing, go to new script, type u is equal to fu, that is upward force, is equal to input bracket force, enter value of upward force is equal to, and terminate sentence with semicolon, then fd is equal to input, enter value of downward force is equal to, terminate sentence by semicolon. Now if you would like to find out the summation of these two forces, that is F, which is net force, or we can say we find out net force using difference between downward force and upward force. So what we'll do is we will try to find out the net force. So I'll write F is net force, which is equal to Fd minus Fu. Terminate again sentence with semicolon. Now what we will do is we will type F print F. This is command which is used for printing your output. Now our output is to print the net force, which is specified by F. So what we will do is we will type F print F, and then as usual in bracket in quote you will write net force, which is nothing but F, capital F, which we have specified already, is equal to percentage F, and then you can complete the quote. Now if you see, till this point everything was shown in red color because something was missing. When you complete this with a quote, it will be shown in the purple color, so there is nothing is wrong. And then this statement you have to print. Actually, the F must be printed as net force in bracket F is this should be printed. That is why we have shown it in a quote, and then you have to use that specifier, that is percentage F, and then comma. And now you have to, since you have to print that F, you have to complete this sentence by adding F, capital F, and then you can say complete the bracket. You can complete the bracket, and then you can terminate this sentence also with a semicolon. Now run this program. It will ask to save this file with some name. Let us save it as specifier underscore 1. Say save, and now in the command window you can see it is asked that enter value of upward force as, let us add is at 5, downward force as, let us take it as 10. Now if you see, the answer is printed as net force F is equal to 5.000. Right? So this is how a specifier is used. So that is why percentage F is used as a specifier. I hope you have understood this. This percentage F is nothing but fixed point notation. This gives the fixed point notation. Now if we change the value, if you run this program again, I will cancel out this, and again I'll run this program. If you write it as 10.2 and let us take it as 15.8, now if you see, answer will be shown as 5.6000. Okay, so this is how these specifiers are used. So now let us see the decision control statements which are used for decision making in programming. So while programming in MATLAB, as we know that set of actions are to be performed are dependent on some circumstances or some of the conditions. So few minutes back we have performed simple program in various steps where the various actions were executed sequentially, but depending on the condition where we have to take decision or change the order of execution or decision control, then some of these statements are implemented, which are if statement or if else statement. Now let us go for studying the if statement in MATLAB. As we know that this statement executes conditionally. If the stated condition is true, then only it will execute that condition, but if that condition is false, then the statement will not be executed. So we'll do one thing. We will see the flowchart for if statement. Now if you can see here, the flowchart is shown where it starts the program. After that you have to read the value of P and Q. That means you have to enter the value of two numbers, that is P and Q. Then the subtraction between P and Q is specified by R. That means the value of R is calculated by taking subtraction between P and Q, and then you can see the conditional statement. So if your R is greater than 0, then print P is greater than Q, and just it will end the program. That means this condition will check for R whether R is greater than 0 or not, and if the value of R is greater than 0, then only it will print that P is greater than Q. If it is false, then it will not execute this particular statement. So now let us go for executing this simple program in MATLAB. So what we will do is we will type as P is equal to input bracket quote single quote enter value of P is equal to terminate sentence with sorry I am writing this program in command window, which is not allowed. Go to new script, copy and paste it here, then Q is equal to again I will copy and paste this as input and I will change this as Q. Then I will write the action as R is equal to P minus Q, and then I'll add statement as if condition R is greater than 0. Now don't terminate this particular statement. If statement, directly come to next line, just say enter, and then you write F print F. We have to print that which has to be placed in the quote, single quote, that P is greater than Q. That's it. And then just say enter and write end. Now our program is ready. You have to run this program, save this program with some name, and then see your command window. Now it is asking value of P. I'll enter value of P as 6 and Q as 3. Obviously answer of R must be equal to 3, which is greater than 0. Hence statement is printed as P is greater than Q. Now let us see by changing the values of P and Q. We will run this program again. If you see here, after running the program, name of program is executed. Okay. So now enter value of P as 3, Q as 6. The answer will be minus 3 and statement is not printed. See why answer of R is printed here, because we have not terminated this sentence with semicolon. If you terminate your sentence with semicolon, then obviously nothing will be printed. Now let us see that. Now I'll add semicolon here. Nothing will be printed. And now I'll run this program. It will ask value of P as 3, Q as 6. You can see here nothing is printed because value of P is less than Q. Okay. And now even value of R is also not displayed because we have terminated that particular statement. So this was about if statement. Now let us go for if else statement. For this particular thing, let me clear this command window first and even my workspace. I'll just modify the program here. I'll not go for typing a new program. What I'll do is I will just add the statement as else, and I will just add another line as fprintf, and now this will be replaced as Q and this will be replaced as P. Why we are doing this? Because if your first statement, if it is wrong, then second statement must be printed. That is why we use if else statement, and then you just complete your program. So before going for this, I would like to brief about if else statement. You people are aware of this, but let me introduce it once again. So depending on the output of specific condition, the if else statement will work. Initially some statements are given, like 1 or 2 statements are given. So in here, in our example, 2 statements are given as P is greater than Q and Q is greater than P, and the condition will be defined as user. That means condition is R must be greater than 0. So if the condition is true, it will execute first statement, and if it is false, then it will execute the second statement. So we will see the flowchart for this particular statement. Now if you can see here again, the values of P and Q will be entered, R will be calculated, and if this condition, that if R is greater than 0, if it is true, it will print that P is greater than Q and it will end the program, and if it is not, it will print it as Q is greater than P and your program will be stopped. So what I'll do is, we have modified this program. Now I'll say run. It will ask value of P, I'll enter at 6, value of Q as 3, and you can say it is displayed as P is greater than Q. Now if you would like to execute value of R also, then just remove this semicolon and again run this program. It will ask for value 6, 3. Now you can see value of R is displayed as 3 and statement is that P is greater than Q. Now let us interchange the values. Enter value of P as 3 and Q as 6. Answer is -3 and statement is printed as another statement. The second statement is printed now because your condition is false. So it is displayed as Q is greater than P. So now let us start studying the iterative statements, or basically which are called as loops. In the example of parachute, in the model of parachute, we have studied that the velocity when t is increasing with some step size has to be calculated again and again, so which is basically called as iterations. So to perform such iterations, we need to repeat some kind of instructions within your program, which is to be executed using this kind of iterative statements or loops. So basically there are two types of iterative statements. One is for loop and another one is while loop. So in the earlier session, we developed some sequential or decision control instructions and they are executed, their respective programs. When these kind of programs are executed, they always performed the set of actions only once, hence they are of limited nature. But many times if we want to repeat set of instruction for number of times, the iterative loops or statements are to be implemented. So this involves repeating the set of instruction in program for either for number of times or until you get particular condition is being satisfied. So basically the differentiation between for loop and while loop is done with respect to whether you have to repeat some kind of instruction for number of times or till some condition gets satisfied. So this is main difference between for loop and while loop. For loop is used when you know the fixed number of iterations, like some of the formula or instruction is to be repeated for 10 times. This is known, then you can go for using the for loop. But when you have some condition like your output must be less than or equal to some kind of value, then you must go for the while loop. So now let us go for studying the for statement. This type of iterative statement is used when the number of repetitions of a particular set of statement are known, as I already stated. The statement in the for loop will repeat for fixed number of iterations. It is count control loop, that is why it is called as count control loop, and initiates with single count. So this count is incremented or decremented successively. The relation condition for number of counts should be specified to decide the loop termination or stopping of loop. So the statement for this loop in the program can be written as I for I is equal to 1 as to n. It means the given statement is executed from 1 to n number of values. So now let us see the flowchart for the for statement. First of all, you have to read n, that is you have to enter the given values of n, then you have to print the table. I mean, you have to write statement for printing the table, that is the output, ultimate output of your program. Then you can see here the loop is created using the statement for. It is written as for I is equal to 1 to 10. That means calculate the value of res, that is they have specified the output as res equal to n into I. So that means it will calculate the new value of res as res is equal to n into I, and this procedure will be repeated till I reaches to 10. So that means n reaches to 10. When it reaches to 10, automatically it will follow this particular line, and finally it will print the values of res. That means your table will be printed. So this is the simple flowchart for the for statement. So now we will go for executing this statement using simple program. So what I'll do is I will write n is equal to input quotes enter value of n. Now this n has to be specified by user, that is why we are writing like this. So after this you can write f print f. Now you need a table, so I'll write table is equal to, again I'll terminate this statement, and now I'll add a loop for I is equal to 1 as to 10. Now since we are in a loop, we will not terminate this particular statement, and then we will write res is equal to n into I, and now you can terminate this statement. You can write f print f percentage d you can come out of the quotes, comma, and since we have to print res, we will write res here, and then we will terminate this statement, and then we will just write end. So this completes our program. Now you must ask me question, what is necessity of percentage d? So this is another kind of specifier which is used to manage the printing of input and output. Specifically, percentage d indicates the decimal notation. So now I will run this program. I'll save it. It will ask for the value of n. You can enter this as suppose 4. Then the values are printed as 4, 8, 12, 16 and so on, and it is repeated till you get value as 40. But now you can see there is no space between the new values. I mean, all values are printed aside one by one. So what we can do is we can write this as n, and we will rerun it again. 4. Now if you see here, because of adding this backward slash n, your values are being printed like in fashion that 4, 8, 12, 16 now are being separated and are printed in new line. So that means backward slash n is used to execute your values, each value in the each iteration in the new line. So that is why this modification you have to use. Now if you see this, the last value of the execution is 40. So that means your program, this loop has been repeated till you get a value of I is 10. So that means when n is divided by is multiplied by 10, you get value as 40. So this is a basic example of a while loop. Now for loop. Now we will go for studying the while loop. As you must be knowing that while loop is a condition control loop, So that means it will driven by some condition. In general, when this loop begins, user do not know how many times it will repeat. The statement within the while loop would keep on getting executed till the condition being tested remains true. If the condition become false, then automatically it will come out of the loop and next process will be executed and program will continue. So basically for executing the while loop we need some condition. So for this particular example we will take the help of a flowchart. Now if you can see here, the condition is taken as I must be less than or equal to 10. If it is not true, it will automatically end. But if it is true, then it will calculate value of res as we have done it in the earlier program. It will print res. It will calculate I, which is new value, which is I plus 1, and again it will go to the previous condition. So that means, so now with the help of this flowchart we will try to understand the syntax for while loop. So it starts with the entering the value of number, say n. Then obviously we need to print some table, that is why we will write it as print table. Then initially we will assume I is equal to 1 and then we'll have some loop. So now if you see here, while I is less than or equal to 10, this is basically a check which is kept in between the two lines. So for I, which is starting from 1 to 10, calculate the value of res, that is equal to n into I, where n is number which you specified at the input, and then it will print this res. The next value of I will be increased by 1, will be added by 1, so it will be written as I is equal to I plus 1, and this process will continue, or it will be repeated for I will be equal to 1 to 10, because here the condition is specified as I is less than or equal to 10. When it reaches to value 10, the I reaches to value 10, it will automatically stops. So now let us execute this syntax by using a program. So we have n as input, value of some number which is to be taken from the user. Then we will print the table as using command f, printf table is equal to this statement, and now we will write I, which is equal to, initially it is taken as 1, while let us add a condition that I must be lesser than or equal to 10. Do not terminate this statement. Come to next line, we have to calculate res is equal to n into I, terminate f, print f, quotes, %d, backward slash n, come out of the quote, comma, we have to print value of res, that is why I'll write res, terminate the sentence. The next value should be incremented by 1, so I is equal to I plus 1, again terminate this statement and write end. I will execute this program. It will ask for the value of n. Now let us put this value of n as 2. Let us assume it as 2. You can assume it as anything. And now if you can see, the table is printed as 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So this process has been repeated till your I reaches to 10. So that means it is repeated for 10 times. The tutorial 1 based on the introduction to MATLAB for basic arithmetic operations and some of the conditional and iterative loops. Now I request every one of you to solve some of the basic problems from the book of Chapra based on the contents covered in the tutorial. From the next tutorial we will be starting with the programming for the model of parachutist, which we have modeled or which we have studied in the first and second session of theory classes. Thank you so much.